Hi, welcome to the OEM YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing a review of the MortalShell beta. All in all, really good beta for a game. I kind of felt like it was a little short though, and not much like an actual beta, and more like a demo. The gameplay did feel very nice. The combat was very good, although there were some issues with the weapons. I did feel as if what attacks I was using did have weight to them. And the class system in the game is interesting. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's very interesting. And as you can see here, I'm playing the rogue character, I guess. They only currently have 2 playable characters in the beta. They have 2 playable weapons, one of which being the hammer and chisel and the other being a greatsword. I'll go into more detail about the hammer and chisel later on in the video. Overall, as you're seeing here, the combat is very nice, even though I do suck horribly at it. It plays more like Bloodborne than it does a Souls game, but I feel like that really just depends on how aggressive you are. Me, as an aggressive player, I played it more like I would whenever you're fighting Gascoigne in Bloodborne. I don't really show it in this background footage here, but there are weapon abilities that you can get where if you click 2 buttons at the same time, then it releases like an ultimate attack, I guess. Okay, so first up here we have my first issue with the beta, but that's probably just due to enemy placements in it. The amount of fucking poison is insane. How long the poison lasts is way too long. If you're playing a rogue-like character, which I am, then you're basically fucked if you don't know how to play the game properly. Now, that might be a good teaching tool at some point, but whenever you get to the later aspects of the beta, it does become very, very annoying. Especially whenever you're trying to just rush to the boss and you get poisoned by a random fucking goblin. And here, this is kind of nitpicky, but this enemy will sometimes, while you're standing far away, he'll throw swords at you. And I noticed that he doesn't pull all of them out and throw them at you. He kind of just picks off one that infinitely regenerates and kind of breaks the immersion. Yeah. And here we're looking at a main gameplay thing where if you get killed, you have 2 different stealth bars like Sekiro, where if you die once, then you can come back, but you have to jump into your body again in order to get it. I think that could work really well in the main game with some permadeath aspects, but that would lead to a problem of if you lost all your classes, then you would kind of be fucked, and you'd need to start a new game. The annoying enemy design in this game. These goblin enemies that you're seeing, they are a reskin of a previous enemy early on, where if you went to the right of the starting area, there was a secret boss. That secret boss is basically the exact same thing as the goblins, only they're a little stronger with a lot more health. That's the only main difference. Their attack set is completely the exact same, and everything else is like no difference whatsoever. There are a lot of glitches in this. It's still a beta, and I wouldn't doubt that most of them just come from the fact that this is a beta, but the amount of sheer glitches, it's similar to the amount in The Witcher 3. They aren't really game-breaking, but they can be if you get a glitch where you can attack at the same time as using your defensive ability, and that really makes it feel more like just a dude playing a game rather than being immersed in the actual game because of just the sheer amount of bugs in it. The boss in this, there's only one actual boss, but there is another one early on in the beginning, like I said so. The boss is just repetitive. It is extremely boring after you get through with your first couple of deaths because it's just the same moves being used over and over and over again. There's no distinguishable difference between the times that you get to fight them. It's just all feeling like the same thing over and over again. You just got to get lucky with how many attacks he throws out. During the boss fight is really whenever I felt it was more like Bloodborne than it was a Soulslike game. That's partly due to the fact of me using the hammer and chisel. The weapons. The weapons in this game, there are 2 weapons as of the beta. There is a greatsword and a hammer and chisel. The hammer and chisel is your more quick and fast weapon, and your greatsword is a more damage-dealing, heavier weapon. My issues with these weapons are the hammer and chisel dealt more damage on average than the greatsword did, due to just how fast it was, and I kind of felt like it was more so pushing me to use the hammer and chisel than the greatsword. And the greatsword obviously is a fine weapon, but you need to be a little bit more reclusive as a player whenever you're using it, making it less fun as a result. I really think they could either speed up the greatsword or slow down the combat in general. Although I feel like speeding up the greatsword would probably be a better idea. Another thing that I noticed is the direct amount of healing items that you get isn't really a whole lot. You get some amount of healing items that heal you over time, but the only direct healing that you can ever get is through parrying, which by itself, parrying is a thing that you need to master all its own besides the combat. So learning to heal yourself with the parrying is very difficult in total. The way the parrying healing works is you get a little red thing in the middle of your health bar, and if that fills up, then you can parry someone, and then you can do a critical attack like you can in Sekiro whenever you kill something. I just feel like they could really add something similar to the Estus Flask or the way that Demon Souls handles it. I really feel like if they did it the way that Demon Souls handled it, it would have been much better as a result. The amount of items that they had in the beta was a lot, and the way that the character scaling works and the levels and all that is interesting. I've beaten the beta once, almost twice, but I have fun with it. It's just whenever I look at the characters, not the characters themselves, but the skills that they have whenever you get to level them up, it makes them feel like they're broken. Mainly because with this guy, say you were to get an upgrade, then you would pretty much be invincible. He can take a couple hits and just not take damage at all if you use the right build. And sometimes it really does feel like it's more suited towards the fast and more non-reclusive player. It took me around 6 tries to finally beat the actual boss, and each time I was fighting him, I did kind of feel like the amount of damage that I was doing was kind of busted, and the dodge that I had was a little bit broken. In total, I would say that MortalShell is definitely something to keep on your radar due to the fact that it is probably one of the closest games that we will get to Bloodborne on PC. And whenever you're waiting for Elden Ring to come out, this is probably going to be the closest thing to a fully fledged FromSoft game. Regardless of its flaws, I still think it is a very, very fun game, and I had a massive amount of fun with it. Not only that, but one of my friends did as well. I recommended it to them, and they had a lot of fun with it. I personally will be buying the game whenever it comes out in full. I don't know when it will be coming out, but I do plan on buying it as soon as I can. If I can keep playing the beta until the game comes out, I will be doing that occasionally, maybe even speedrunning it. As for if I'm going to play it religiously almost every day, I don't see myself doing that, mainly because of the fact that the beta is extremely boring after you beat it once. Unless you're doing new games, it's really not all that fun. All in all, very, very good game. For a beta, it is extremely good. The beta is open to anyone, and if you're wanting to play the beta, I'll put a link to their website in the description. This game is an 8 out of 10. Great gameplay, but there are some issues that definitely need to be solved with how their game actually works fundamentally, not the combat or all that. Some stats, some speed changes, all that kind of stuff. I love the game. I'll praise it, I'll suck its dick. It is a great game. I would recommend trying out the beta before you actually consider buying it. But yeah, all in all, very good game. I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys do too.